guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I did these two large-scale paintings, show you a little behind the scenes about the process, but also more importantly talk about something that has been on my mind a lot recently, which is the role of fear in the creative process and how you can create without fear. And the reason why I want to talk about creativity and fear is because in the past it would have been impossible for me to paint paintings of this size. I got really used to doing daily paintings and I made a lot of really small work, so I was comfortable with that. But to think about painting on this large scale was just so intimidating. So today I want to talk about some of the mindset shifts that I had that helped me overcome my fear so I could create these large scale pieces. And I'm hoping that if you are working on a large creative project and you're feeling kind of paralyzed by that fear and the fear is really holding you back, then I hope that by hearing about my experience and the way that I sort of reframed my thinking around these big projects and around fear, I hope it can give you some inspiration and kind of give you the boost that you need to overcome your fears so that you can make your work. And I want to tell you, it's worth the effort. These big, ambitious projects can be really scary, but once you get them done, they're just so rewarding. All right, let's get to it. So recently I got the idea for two new large-scale paintings, and I found some really cool canvases for them. I found these large round canvases that I could use, and I was really excited about the idea. But once the canvases arrived, I had some other projects that I was working on, like the 50-50 challenge, and so the canvases kind of just sat there in my studio blank, just staring at me for a few weeks. And the longer I waited to paint these canvases, the more intimidated I started to get. I was just kind of looking at how big they are, and I guess the initial excitement that I had about the ideas had worn off a little bit, so it kind of gave way to this fear to arise instead. And I started to doubt myself. I was thinking, maybe I'm not skilled enough to make paintings this size. I do these small daily paintings and I can do those well, but just translating to this larger size is just so difficult. Will I have the time to do it? Are these ideas even good enough? Do they even deserve being painted on this larger canvas? All of these doubts were going through my head and kind of making me second guess myself and wonder if I really should get started on these paintings. And I think I was waiting for the moment for my confidence to build up so that at one moment I would say, okay, now I feel confident enough, I'm ready to start. But instead what was happening is as more time passed, I was just feeling more and more self-doubt and more making up more and more reasons why I wasn't going to be able to do the paintings. And this is one of the reasons why I haven't done that many big paintings in my work, even though I do get ideas for big paintings, but I'm just so used to doing small daily paintings, and to me, that's my comfort zone. That's just where I feel safe, and it's just so hard to venture outside of that. It just feels really intimidating. So while I was having all of these feelings of self-doubt and just hesitating on my work, I stumbled upon the story of the climber Marc-Andre Leclerc. He was this young Canadian climber, and he would just accomplish the most incredible climbing feats. He was known for free soloing mountains, but he wouldn't free solo in the way that other climbers do it. So if you've heard of Alex Honnold or some of the other solo climbers, what they would do is they would practice the route many times and then they would climb up the mountain without ropes after they'd practiced the route many times. So they kind of knew every step. So it's still really dangerous, but at least they knew the route, they'd practiced it before. Oh, and if you don't know the terminology, free soloing means climbing a mountain without ropes. So if you fall, there's no rope that's going to catch you. So anyway, not only would Marc-Andre Leclerc free solo these mountains, but he would do it on the first try. So he would go to a new mountain that he'd never climbed before. He would research the route, read about it, and then he would just go climb it without ropes, without any sort of protection. And listening to interviews with Marc-Andre, you could just tell he was so passionate about climbing, and he had the skills to back it up. I mean, he completed some of the most difficult climbing routes, and he did them without any ropes, which is just incredible. And when I heard his story, I just thought, like, he is a clear example of someone who is living fearlessly. And I just felt so inspired. Like, here was someone who does not let fear stop him from doing what he wants to do. And I couldn't help but reflect on my own life and my own experience with fear and how it was impacting my ability to paint these large-scale paintings. It just really put my fear in perspective, seeing Marc-André's example, because for me, if I fail in my painting, I was just thinking, you know, what are the consequences? If I fail, the worst that could happen is I make a bad painting, and maybe, well, I could feel embarrassed, but I wouldn't even show it to anybody. So I would feel a little embarrassed myself, and then I just paint over it. And so maybe I waste a few days working on this painting, but in the end, it's really not that big of a deal. Meanwhile, Marc-André was literally risking his life for his passion, and if he made a single mistake, then it would be fatal. So I was just thinking, yeah, it's really important to keep this stuff in perspective, because I think oftentimes we think of painting or whatever creative pursuit we're doing, we're really ambitious about it, and we think of it as this big, important thing. And on the one hand, it is a big deal. I mean, we want to create something beautiful or evocative or meaningful, and that's not easy, and that takes a lot of work, and it's a really noble pursuit. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to remember what the stakes are if we fail, because I think a lot of times we kind of make failure seem so scary in our heads when actually it's really not that big of a deal. And assuming that we're not doing some sort of life-threatening passion like free soloing mountains, the failure is something we can always recover from. So I'm happy to report I took this new perspective and I used it to complete both of these paintings in the same week, which for me is just crazy. I've never completed 2 large paintings in such a short amount of time. And I totally credit it to this new way of thinking and working with my fear. Here's how the 2 paintings turned out in the end, and I have to say it was just so satisfying to see my ideas on these huge canvases.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and that some of my experiences resonated with you. Let me know in the comments below what you thought and whatever big project that you're working on. And if you do have a big, scary, creative project that you're trying to do, I wish you the best of luck.